To order, today is Thursday, May the 23rd, 2013, 7:07. Invocation tonight will be done by Deacon Rouse of the Sacred Heart Catholic Church. Get up.
Thank you for this opportunity and time to pray for everyone, our community, and for all gathered here this evening. Let's bow our heads and pray for God's blessing. On this night, we offer in thanksgiving to God our Father for all we have received. And we pray also for the strength of our community and our community leaders and those who gather here this night to hear the voice and the petitions of the needs of those here in Floresville. Loving Father, we ask you that you gracefully pour that grace upon us all this night. That as Jesus says, peace be with you, that the same peace be in our hearts this day and every day in our lives. We pray especially for those in Oklahoma who suffered in the tornadoes. Spiritual leaders in the world may come together to hear the sufferings and cries of many there. And that we too may outreach to them in our own special way. And that the hearts of many hear that cry. Loving Father, grant the strength for our community leaders here this night, so that they too may fulfill the needs of our community and those who are crying out to them. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you, one Father, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Father. I'm Deacon Rouse. I already know this, Father. You've been promoted. We have established quorum: Councilman Miller, Councilman Morones, Councilwoman Castillo, Councilman Guerrero, and Councilman Rodriguez. Will everyone please stand for the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance and the flag?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I, Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
At this time, I would like for any citizen comments.
Yeah, Mayor, I would just like to make a comment. We had an event here Friday at our event center, which is one of the reasons we have the event center, is also to bring kids to bids, which it did Friday night. We had a professional boxing matches. Morones Boxing Club, originally from Floresville, who's now in San Antonio, but we still call it home. We brought some professional boxing matches to Floresville, and we had an outstanding crowd there, different boxing groups. What impressed me the most is, I wore my Floresville Councilman shirt, and I had several people come up to me, I guess, to the shirt, making me feel important, I guess. They were surprised. They were really happy to be there. They really enjoyed the event center. I was able to talk to the doctors at ringside and some of the promoters, and they said, man, we got a better turnout here than we do in some places in San Antonio that we have the events for. And hopefully they will come back. But again, they brought a lot of kids to beds, and they stayed at our hotel, not for one, but 2-3 nights. So also I want to compliment Gloria Martinez and her staff, because I spoke with Gloria that night, and I could just tell in her eyes how tired she was, because she had an event the night before that night, and was having to wait and set up for the next day. So Gloria, I compliment you on that, and your staff. Y'all did an excellent job. I got nothing but good compliments, and hoping that we'll have some more events like that in the future. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'm going to take a few minutes and maybe call it my soapbox, if you will. In the last 6 months, 6.5 months while serving on council, I think this council has made some significant changes to this community. We started here tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, the pledge to the Texas flag. We've opened up citizens' input. We hear what great successes we have with the 4A. This council directed that 4A board to take over operations of that facility over the next couple of years, and they're working hard to do that, to get city staff out of that business. I think that's a very positive thing for our community. We're going to hear from the 4B Corporation tonight and what they're doing in the way of economic development and the challenges that they faced, but the progress that they're making. We're going to hear about our audit, and by some real good work by city staff, the audit is not nearly what it was projected to be. It's actually a very good audit of this city. Our Planning and Zoning Commission has implemented the land use plan that is also going to include zoning ordinances. It's also going to include land use projections for this city. We've instituted a continuous 3-year budget process that's going to start very, very soon. We've implemented zero-based budgeting for this next year. All very, very positive things for this city, with the water and sewer models ongoing, the capacity to be able to project where growth is going. Some very good things have been done in this city, and they've been done apolitically. They've been done based upon facts, based upon good presentations, and 95% of the time, this entire council voted for those projects. It was not a 3-2 vote. It was, as we go back and look over the minutes that we're going to approve, almost everything that happened at our last council meeting was passed or denied or tabled 5-0. I think that's impressive of this council and the work that they're doing. Unfortunately, this afternoon, I received a visit from the Texas Rangers, who informed me that our district attorney has initiated a criminal investigation into me regarding residency. An issue that I thought we resolved through the Fourth Court of Appeals, through our city staff, through the work that we're doing here at this council and with this community. I'm a businessman and I'm a family man, and I have already spent countless thousands of dollars defending myself legally. I will not continue as a councilman if the district attorney pursues these charges. I do not have the money, I do not have the time, nor do I have the desire for those kinds of things that are clearly political moves. The ball is in the court of the district attorney. If these charges get pursued, I will resign. I have no motive, I have no desire to gain, but for this city. And I think the actions of this council collectively have proven that. Thank you.
Thank you. I also would like to make a comment that on Saturday, the Armed Forces had a parade. It was very well attended. I don't know if any of y'all noticed those 3 jets that flew over, which was very nice. Next year, they plan to have a much bigger event. So hopefully, if some of you would like to volunteer, if y'all would just talk to Judge Sheila or any of the groups that were participating. Okay? Now we're going to go on to, anyone else have any citizen comments before I proceed? Okay. We're going to go on to old business, consideration and action to approve the minutes for the regular meeting, May 9, 2013.
Madam Mayor, and I'm going to refer to council on this. When items are tabled, should we be giving a reason for tabling if it's tabled indefinitely, if it's tabled for a specific period of time, or being tabled for a request for additional information?
That would help with sure we documented that.
May I respond? I think if the motion is driven that way, i.e. somebody states we're tabling this for more information, or we're tabling it for whatever reason, it would be good for the minutes to so reflect. I've looked back several years ago and seen something be tabled or some action be taken, and it's helpful to know why. It connects the dots when people that look at minutes fail.
The reason I asked, Councilman and Madam Mayor, there's a couple of issues on here, or items that got tabled. Many of them were because we wanted to take no action, i.e. the issue on the audit committee. But then there were other motions to table that were based upon us getting additional information, i.e. as it related to the water and sewer models. That was not to table indefinitely, but that was to table so to allow the city manager to re-present that at a later date. I think these minutes should reflect that, specifically on items being tabled, and as such would make the motion to table the acceptance of these minutes until they could be amended to reflect.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilman Miller, second by Councilman Rodriguez to table approving of the minutes till these is correct. Ms. Pollard, will you-
Until we state the reasons for tabling the previous tabling.
Correct. And this one too? Okay. Now I'm gonna skip if it's
Did we
okay.
vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now I'm going to move up, if it's okay with everyone, item, under presentation, item C, audit presentation, Ms. Wagner and Andy.
Madam Mayor, I think I know Sergeant Major Hendricks has got an American Legion meeting tonight, and he has a short invitation to the council and regarding the Iwo Jima Memorial, so that he could get back to his meeting. I would ask that you allow him to make this presentation.
Sure.
Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing me the time to come and speak before you, the public. I don't know if you know that your local American Legion, number 38, right over across the street over there, has been chartered since 1947. Presently, we have over 200 members from the Floresville area. We decided, the membership decided to do something for the World War II veterans. And one of the members decided to cut out a silhouette of the Iwo Jima flag raising. Well, as we worked through this, we said, wouldn't it be a nice thing to invite somebody to give the dedication speech? And so all the members that raised the flag are deceased. But we invited the son of the only Navy man that was there, the Navy foreman, John Bradley. His son is, we're flying him down Saturday night, and he will give the dedication speech on Monday for the unveiling of our silhouette over there. I don't know if you went by, see a whole bunch of guys trying to work on it at one time. The speaker, Steve Bradley, I grew up with him. We went in the Marine Corps on the buddy program, went all the way over to Vietnam, got the infantry over there in the grunts, stationed in the same platoon. But when we checked in, they put us in different squads. So one morning, my squad was out on a recon patrol. We got ambushed, which was nothing unusual over there. And by the time I got back, he had been shot through the chest and was medevac. So he spent 3 months there, and I spent 13. I never forgave him for it. But we're inviting the public. I think all the council members got a invitation, Mayor. And we're inviting the public. It'll be 10 o'clock on Monday. We'd like to see a good turnout. Like I said, he's coming all the way from northern Wisconsin. to give the dedication speech. So, everybody please come and join us and give them a Texas welcome. All right, thank you.
Sir, I did notice that y'all were doing some work. Did y'all put like some little monument stones? Is that what I was thinking?
Yes, there's a monument stone and it has all the flag raisers' names on there. There's 5 Marines and 1 Navy corpsman, and then they're numbered so you can tell which one's which.
I'm going to add a little bit about Steve Bradley, and maybe this will connect a few dots for people. There was a few years ago, there was a movie out called Flags of Our Fathers. It was written by Steve's younger brother. The book was. I read the book and I saw the film, and it was extremely touching about the individual flag raisers, and it told the story of John Bradley, the Navy corpsman who had raised the flag there. I think this is a great opportunity for the local American Legion, for which I'm a member, as well as for the city of Floresville. I think this is a great public event, and hopefully we'll have some more media there to highlight the city of Floresville, Mr. Bradley, and the American Legion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to item 2C, the audit presentation, September 2012, financial audit firm is Wagner.
Thank you, Mayor Garza.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall.
My presentation isn't that interesting, I'm sorry to say. We have audited the financial statements of the city of Floresville for the year ended September 30th, 2012. We have this audit booklet that has the series of financial statements and footnotes and so forth. Unfortunately, it is marked draft on the front cover. We were slower this year in getting some final numbers to Laura so that she could write the MD&A, management discussion and analysis. And we were making changes on it and proofing it up until last week. It still has to go through another proof, and then the signatures will be on it, and we will deliver the final to council at that time. Given that, I'm going to just kind of go through what I think are some of the high points of this audit report. We spent quite a bit of time with the audit committee just before this council meeting, going over a lot more detail than I'm going to present. But if you all who weren't in the audit committee have any comments or suggestions, I know I haven't given you much time to look it over. If, when the final is out, you wish me to come back and do a more detailed presentation, I'd be happy to do so. Just let me know when. First of all, on page number 1 is our opinion on the financial statements, which is a clean or unqualified opinion. We are assuring readers that the statements referred to present fairly in all material respects the financial information of the city of Floresville. Following our opinion is a management discussion and analysis. This is like an executive summary. I'm not going to go into it, but it summarizes the 59 pages that follow in a pretty good narrative fashion. If I could ask you to turn to page 14, please. This schedule shows the balance sheet of the city's various funds. It shows the general fund, the debt service fund. The other non-major funds include your special revenue as well as your capital projects fund. Special revenue are things like your street maintenance tax, you have a child safety fund, the courthouse technology fund. They're all quite small. I'm going to concentrate on the general fund. You see that we had assets of $512,000. And liabilities against those assets of $756,000. So we had a deficit fund balance at the end of last year of $244,660. And when we get back to the footnotes, I'll talk to you all a little more about that at that time. I'm going to go into the footnotes next. I'd like you to turn to page 31, please. At the top of the page, it shows you where your cash is. You have a small investment in Texas Class. Most of it is in the money market and in your bank account. Cities are required to hold their cash so it's first of all safe. Liquidity is the second requirement and return is the third. And those returns for everyone have been really poor. But you can see from this schedule that the city's cash is indeed safe and liquid. Next, I'd like to show you the general fund's budget actual, which is on page 45. This shows the general fund as it related to the budget that you all had passed over a year ago. The first line item is property taxes. We have a negative variance from budget. We had budgeted $921,000. We really got for this fund $433,000. Now, you really did get more property taxes, but it had to be recorded over in your debt service fund. And it wasn't budgeted that way originally in the 2012 budget, so it is now budgeted that way in 2013. So money's not gone, it's just in a different fund.
Can I just elaborate just a little bit on that?
Sure.
In the tax rate, which in that previous year was 3227, I believe. That's the total tax rate. A portion of that tax rate is debt service. The other portion is maintenance and operations, for lack of a better term. And what had been done in the past was all 32.27 cents per $100 was put into the general fund, and nothing was set into a debt service fund. Ms. Fagan's appropriately separated those monies so that maintenance and operation property tax went into the general fund, and debt service property tax went into the debt service fund. And that's the reason for that deficit. It was not that we weren't collecting the right amount of taxes, it was just how it was being accounted.
Very good description. Sales tax, same kind of thing. We were accounting for sales tax for some of the 4A and 4B and running it through the general fund. That, as Mr. Miller had indicated, has now been corrected. It's going to the correct funds. So that's not alarming. It's just the way the budget was as it was adopted. Moving on down, administration is over budget $402,000, and that's mainly due to those professional and legal fees that the city incurred last year. Debt service wasn't budgeted in the general fund, but we've talked, and it will be, the general fund is required to pay a portion of the 2008 bond issue. And so that's why we record that debt service in the general fund. So the net bottom line for the year for the city was that we had a decrease in the fund balance of $303,081. And given an adjusted fund balance at the beginning of the year of $58,000, that gives us our net deficit at the end of the year. I mentioned that I was going to talk a little bit about that deficit. I have indicated on page 36, I'm going to have you go backwards, sorry. At the bottom of that page, council has taken action on addressing that deficit, and that you all are going to adopt a zero-based budget and other issues that Mr. Miller had indicated earlier in the meeting. That budget activity will be monitored, and the objective is to have a 90-day reserve by 2018-19. And 90 days is generally what financial advisors recommend that you have in fund balance as a minimum. The last thing I'm going to talk about is back on page 55. We had significant material weaknesses in the prior audit. Many of those have been fixed or corrected. I'm going to give you the bad news first, and then I'm going to give you the good news. The bad news is we still have a couple of material weaknesses, one of which is having a deficit in your general fund balance is a technical violation of law. The other one is that the utility rates being charged to your customers aren't in accordance with the ordinance that you had adopted many years ago. This was discovered by Laura when she was going through the ordinances and what was charged in the utility rates. And I think Doug has some ideas on how much we had indeed undercharged customers over the years. So now that we have the new rates, we're going to test those rates really thoroughly on all different sizes of customers and levels of service and so forth. Not material weaknesses, but significant deficiencies, which are things that need to be monitored, is that we have a payroll module that is not being used up to its top capabilities. And in turn, vacation time within the system. That's being tracked now on spreadsheets. However, a better way would be to have the managers know how much people are accumulating in all these sick and vacation areas, and the employee should be able to see it on his pay stub. And since we have the capability to do it, we're using kind of a clunky system to track those things. And they can be significant dollars in some cases. In addition to that, the insurance deductions aren't being handled the way they should through the system, and we need to be sure that we can reconcile what that invoice is that we get for insurance to what we should have been withholding on all of our employees for their dependent care. And that needs to be done through the system as well. And then Laura has recommended that because we pay every 2 weeks, but we're billed on insurance every month. So there's a bit of a disconnect there for 26 pay periods versus 24 months. No, I'm not saying that right. You just asked it. 24 pay periods. Oh, sorry, that one was a struggle, wasn't it? Municipal court has the same operating system that the city does, but it's not being connected or interfaced with the city. And we auditors feel strongly, and I think the audit committee supports this as well, that we need to have all of the departments within this municipality under the same internal controls and under the same operating system so that we can timely and accurately deposit cash that's collected and get the reporting out that you need as council members. Last comment we had last year was too much cash is being held at the city. We need to be sure that we're doing daily deposits where they make sense. Now the good news is, last year you always had comments regarding the city's accounting structure. One of the changes was setting up all these funds that should have been set up long ago. That process started last year, but since Laura's come on board, that thing has gotten so it is working like a Swiss watch. Things are being recorded where they're supposed to be, and the funds are spending out of where they should be spent. And Laura's done a very good job organizing your software, frankly, to achieve all that, to make it happen. Bank accounts weren't reconciled last year. Pleased to report that they are being reconciled this year on a timely basis. Prompt deposits helps that processing, that bank reconciliation process, in that you don't have as much to look through. So this kind of goes hand in hand with getting the cash in every day, if that makes sense. Monitoring, we talked about oversight and compliance, and that is being done. You all are looking at your actual budgets. Segregation of duties. We have compensating controls that we think we've identified so that we don't have so many incompatible functions resting with one person. Bringing Laura on board was a big part of achieving that, because now we have more people in the finances and more second set of eyes, other people looking at it. And again, we had that comment on cash in the vault. We also commented that the city did not have an investment policy, but April 13th, you all adopted an investment policy in accordance with the Public Funds Investment Act, so that's been handled. And the C and 4A operating concessions, we weren't always collecting, depositing sales taxes on time. Concession employees were being considered contract labor rather than seasonal employees, and all that has been taken care of. So that's the good news. The city's come a long way. Didn't have any more to present. Do y'all have any questions?
Ms. Wagner, I'm going to ask you to elaborate on one thing that we did in there during your time there, and thank you for taking the time to meet with the audit committee. We did some prior period adjustments, and you explained to me in there how revenue and when it could be accounted for, and really explained that as it related to property tax versus as it relates to sales tax, as it relates to other revenue. If you could explain just that brief piece of this and how Ms. Fagan's convinced you that that was the appropriate way for our books to be done.
Surely. The Governmental Accounting Standard Board sets standards for how you must do your accounting, and it's applied to all governments. And the Governmental Accounting Standards Board says that you may recognize certain kinds of revenue when it's measurable and available. And available means 60 days after your year end. Available means, yeah, I can tap on that money city from an October 1st to a September 30th basis, cash basis. The right way to do that, and many of our cities do this, is that when that individual pays the sales tax is when we as a city get to recognize it, and the state is 60 days behind in giving us that money. So what we've done is we've shifted your 12 months to include that 60 days, because it is measurable. We get reports from the comptroller's office, and she tells us how much we collected. By doing that, because your sales taxes have been increasing over the last couple of years, we went back into 2011 and said we had 180,000 more in sales taxes we could have recognized, that is as a receivable, in 2011 that we didn't. So we made a prior period adjustment to get you on the correct track of how you need to recognize your sales taxes. Now, if your sales taxes are flat, that isn't going to really make that much difference. But because yours have been climbing, it did turn out that it did make a difference to the city. So we made that prior period adjustment so that now we're on track to the right 12 months of sales tax.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to add that Ms. Wagner and Ms. Fagan spent a lot of time with the audit committee in explaining things to us, and certainly the council is not in a position to take any action on this audit until we get the final version, but I do want to publicly recognize Ms. Fagan for the work that she did, for her aggressiveness in making the needed changes when it comes to sales tax, establishing the funds, arguing with council and other staff to get them in place. She has definitely been a bulldog that made a huge impact on this audit report. And I personally want to thank her for that.
And I will second that.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go on to presentation item A, financial update, March 2013, detailed listing, fund balances. Laura?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Here again, it's been a month again. Seems like it's coming faster and faster. We had the same format, we've gone over this. You received in your packet the March 2013 report. It includes, again, all of your funds. She mentioned special revenue funds. Just a kind of reminder, that's street maintenance tax, child safety, court technology, court security, state forfeiture, recreational fee. So those are just those, they're all combined in your audit statement. So when you get your reports, you actually see them as individual funds. Just go on quickly. I feel like it's the same thing every time. So, general fund financing sources for the month of March total $1,821,150. This included 92.5% of your current M&O property tax, which is $342,643. That was mentioned also earlier in the audit. Maintenance and operation is in your general fund. Interest and sinking is your, I'll take a very refer to INS, that's in your debt service. That's how your truth and taxation is calculated. And that's actually referred to in truth and taxation. Again, we kind of touched on this. November is when you collect the most of your property taxes. But as you can see, 92.5 at this point in March are doing really well. From historically, your tax office and your tax attorneys do really well and each of them pay their taxes. So which is very, very nice to see. Sales tax revenue for the month are $95,532. It's an increase of $9,986 or 11.67 in comparison to last March. Again, it looks, when you look at the reports the comptroller sends us, it is based mostly on increased sales. Franchise fees, we mentioned this, sometimes the timing because the check that's here at the end of the month. We actually had 2 payments in March, so we talked about that in the February report as well. We have 47,522 for March, and also February's reported in March. General fund expenditures, we're still holding, trying, to limit expenditures. Still have to freeze on some of the vacant positions. Total expenditures through March are $1,580,875, or 41.92% of the budget. Again, payroll, we talked about that every time. Payroll's 50, at this point, we have 13 pay grades have been paid out through March, so we were at 50%, so most of your salary-related line items are at 50%. Kind of recap, really very little expenditures if you kind of gone through your report. Court really is mostly salaries, police department salaries, street, with the vacancies, their salaries are low. Your street maintenance supplies are actually in your street maintenance tax fund, so when asphalt's purchased, it's actually over in that fund, so you don't see it in the general fund in that department. And we'll go all the way through them all the similar. And then we did talk about this last time, we kind of talked about it several times, and it was kind of mentioned also with this audit comment. Health insurance, there was some issues from the time I got here on reconciliation, how the payroll module was expensing it, a variety of issues. I've been working on that since I got here. In December, we made a lot of changes. We still were working towards that. We pulled out, we have retiree insurance, and it was not really being recorded separately. It was included in a line item that, as if it was that department's, and it's not. So we pulled out retirees because those people are not being through payroll, so that helps not to skew the payroll line items that are related to current employees. Water sewer fund. The total fund source is $664,719. Water, residential, and commercial was $408,752, which again, when I look at it, is down. It still reflects October from the previous year, so we are on target for budget amount as well. The sewer, residential, and commercial total $177,765, and again, almost equal within a few dollars. Again, from residential is a flat rate, so that's why I don't see a lot of fluctuation. Rainy, smaller revenues are coming in. Penalties are calculated on the 10th of the month. We had 460 customers out of 2,490 bills, 2,498 bills on the first. And cutoff penalties, which are done on the 20th, were only on 123 of the 461. So you do really well actually on your collections there. Utility fund expenditures total $640,099, or 39.20% of the budget. We kind of talked about this a few times. We need to split out the water sewer expenses so that they're in their own departments, pull out utility billing as its own department as well. And so we're going to start working on that budget-wise, and probably a budget amendment. We had discussed that happening in June. So that'll help us in the future when we're doing our water sewer rate studies as well as just budgeting. And again, there's same line items, water and sewer, they're trying to hold their expenses down as much as they can. We talked about, we are not addressing issues that need to be addressed. They're Band-Aids, they're doing what they can. They have a truck that doesn't, actually two trucks that don't go in reverse. One basically is pretty much inoperable. It's very sad. But at this point, we know like I said in June, we talked about the budget amendment and the increase in revenues that we're going to see for only 3 months. Because the revenue, although the rates were increased, we did the ordinance in April, it really is only going to be for 3 months of the year. Chemicals, sewer disposal fees, and electricity are your largest expenditures. Under debt service fund, we had very little, really weren't any expenditures because we don't have the debt service payments for in February, for March. We have to pay part. And any questions?
I wasn't here during your last presentation. I noticed a spike in Fund 501 expenses in the month of February, where they had been holding in the $60,000 range, and in February it was $131,000. And I noted some payments regarding permit fees or contracts. There was a big payment in there, a big expense in February, it was $50,000, which was 90% of what had been budgeted for that. Did we make a huge payment in February to contractors on inspection fees or something like
Which
that?
one are you, Department 501, you mean, the general fund?
501,
Okay, 501 department, okay.
yeah.
Wasn't sure which fund you were in. 501, yeah, that was in the budget amendment that was done as well in March. We discussed, we had the hooks,
Was it just that those payments got made in February, kind of, because it was like 90% of what had been budgeted for, not revenue, in the expense for contract inspectors?
yeah, they started doing the Holiday Inn, and there was the apartments. There was just more inspections that started occurring, and then we also received billing.
Because it just seemed like a significant amount compared to what had been budgeted.
Well, and that's why we did the budget amendment to match, to mimic we knew that extra revenue was in there related to those expenses coming.
The next question I have is into the detail. Also within 501, we list professional audit fees. And I see a company here listed, Burry and Partners San Antonio, Inc. And I noticed that they are not our auditor. But then under contract building and inspection services, I see that same company. And we've made some significant payments to them. I'm concerned, how do we get audit fees and contract building and inspection services paid to the same company?
I believe we made a correction to move that out because it was in the same line item. Yes, if you will see, on page 34, transaction number B10986, Burry and Partners, correcting wrong expense to the correct one. We moved it, again, when we were morphing all of the account numbers in January, February, payments were still being made, so not everything had been corrected and segregated out. So we moved those expenses
Okay, so we did move from one to the other.
into the building, into engineering. Or actually, it's not even called engineering, it is called.
Contract building inspection services?
It's actually called, yes, contract building, one bar below it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is the engineers that they, a lot of it is actually for the inspection or planning, a lot of the new growth.
Very well, thank you, and I'll go back, I did not bring the February report that nailed that piece to it, and I made a chance to transfer all of the budget amendments into my little tracking, but I'm going to reiterate what I said regarding the audit. These reports make it very, very easy to follow, and show me, as one who likes to follow numbers, if we have spikes, or if we have changes, or if we have any trends. And I think the work that you've done in that office is tremendous, and it's certainly made my job tremendously easier. And I want to thank you again.
And this, when it comes to the audit report coming out, it'll be very similar. You won't have the fluctuations from the budget to what we did with the debt service in a long time. When you get to the audit next year, you're going to be like, oh, 5 seconds, we're good. So, and then we have the fund balance page that we show the changes in the fund balance. Again, I kind of have that on there, the different breakdowns to kind of keep you special revenue funds, proprietary funds, which is your utility or.
Now, let me ask you a question on that. When we were working on our fund balances, we're kind of bringing that carry forward that was based on that unaudited number. So those numbers are going to change significantly with this final audit as it relates to the general fund.
I think the only one that really will change is the general fund.
Right.
But the other ones, yeah. Yes, but it will, it currently shows 356,957, but it's now 200 from the base on those two prior.
Right, so we're gonna gain that whole. Right, thank you.
Biggest correction on stage 3, the number you just gave us. And it shows 359, which should be 356.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Remind me that. Any other questions?
You can just stay right there. We're going to go on to presentation B, January, March 2013 quarterly investment report.
And that's included in your packet. This is your second one you received, your quarterly investment report. Again, part of the Public Fund Investment Act requirement. The total ending bank balance, now mind you, this is at the bank, does not mean this is cash available. We may have already cut checks that have not cleared. This is what's at the bank itself as required, and which is what you're making sure that it's fully collateralized and et cetera. So even if we hadn't cut a check, it has to be collateralized, but the bank doesn't know that. Total, at the end of March, we had $1,605,349. We have, again, Texas class, MBIA Texas class is a pool. We only have $5,010 in that account. As we go in the future, I mentioned this at the last quarterly report, we kind of grow a little bit. We will include some additional investment pools, tax pool, tax stock. Right now, we unfortunately don't have a lot of money to have a need for lots of bank accounts. There was mentioned, I think in the audit committee, that we, at one point, had lots of individual bank accounts that were old ways of tracking. It was a lot of reasons that they were there for tracking special revenue funds. Instead of doing it in your books, they were done in bank accounts. We now have started to eliminate that need, a lot less bank accounts. The collateralization with the Wells Fargo is $2,115,000, so you were fully collateralized. Any questions? And you see there's probably a 5% interest. Not earning much. Sad days. I remember the day, 13%. Oh, we never see that again. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
Thank you. Now we're going to go on to item presentation, item D, Floresville City River Park fundraiser to be held June 15, 2013. Wilson County Patriots and Council.
Good evening, members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lynn Janowski, and I would like to bring to your attention that the Wilson County Patriots are sponsoring a fundraiser for the Floresville Parks Foundation. The fundraiser will consist of a flea market and a bake sale. It will be held on Saturday, June 15th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Finders Keepers, located at 1303 C Street in Floresville. Finders Keepers has graciously donated the space we will need for this really worthy cause. We invite all of you to support your community and the Floresville Parks Foundation. And this might be a good time to do the spring cleaning. So if you know of anyone who would like to donate an item or baked goods, we do have forms that could be completed so we would have an idea of how many items and baked goods and how much space we will need at the time of the event. Items can be dropped off the morning of the event. And we also have flyers regarding the fundraiser, so if you would take one and share it with your friends, family, and neighbors, we would really appreciate it. And if you want a great deal, stop by on June 15th. We got great deals, and we'll have some very tasty homemade goods. I'd like to thank you for your time and your support, and I hope to see you on June 15th. Have a great evening. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I add some comments here? As the president of the foundation, we are a 501c3 charitable donation. So when you go back into your garages and bring out your antique Mercedes or your Lamborghinis and bring them out, we'll take your boat, we'll take your plane, we'll take anything. And we can give you a receipt for it. You can take it off your IRS bill next year.
I also be sure, we also have the forms and the flyer here. If anybody would like to raise their hand that would like one, we'd appreciate you participating or attending. So you have the baked goods. If anybody's interested,
She's if anybody wants to.
And I gotta just make a note that I appreciate the Wilson County Patriots taking such a charge issue on the City of Floresville organization. This is a group that independently is taking on an issue that is also very apolitical. This is parks in the City of Floresville and how they can be used, and this organization is taking this project on head on, and it is recognized and appreciated by this council.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go on to presentation item E, presentation on passing an ordinance to ban Agenda 21 from Floresville. When I mispronounced your last name. Uhas. Thank you.